Okay.
Let me tweet you, Omar.
Getting my last gulp in. I don't know how you don't drink water or something during the show, Dave.
I got some right here.
See, that's interesting. We both drink seltzer water. What is your brand of choice?
I don't really have one. Today it's Spindrift. I don't know. One of my kids bought it and put it in the refrigerator. It's probably been there for a couple months.
How are you siphoning stuff your kids buy? That doesn't seem fair.
Hey, they do it to me.
That's a very good point. Now that they're old enough, do they siphon your liquor?
I don't think so. They're not around that much. They just bought this probably in the summer or something. I don't know where this came from.
We're ready to go. Okay. Ready for the count. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Happy holidays. Welcome to the Merry Christmas, Hanukkah edition, New Year's too. Will we get this in a showing before New Year's, Dave?
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back for the new year. We'll have to wear crazy glasses or something that say 2022.
I do not have a New Year's celebration idea yet, but I'll be working on it. But the Dolphins, they've already given you a present, Dave. They've already given Dolphin fans a present. The wins keep rolling in, Dave. Maybe Miami was the worst team in the NFL at the beginning of the season, but then they started winning games, beat the Baltimore Ravens. Then the Dolphins took care of business and embarrassed the Panthers. Then the sweep of the New York teams, the Jets and the Giants. People like Dave Hyde, he wasn't giving them credit for the caliber of opponents that they played. But now the litmus test begins, Dave. Miami faces 3 legitimate opponents. All are vying for playoff spots. Some of them have history with us in Ryan Tannehill. That Tannehill Bowl is one of my favorite games. I've been looking forward to it all year. And the Dolphins are on the verge of possibly being in playoff contention, Dave. I said that I'm not going to take it serious until they produce a winning record. Well, on Monday night's game against the New Orleans Saints, that's a possibility. Dave, are they pretenders or playoff contenders?
Are you saying, will they make the playoffs? Is that the question?
No, I'm saying, are they going to be legitimately in the hunt? Because most people say one loss and they're done.
Well, I don't think they can sweep these 3 teams, no. So I guess if that's the question, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. However, 6 straight wins, you have to walk a fine line here. 6 straight wins is something few teams in the NFL have done, okay? So you tip your Santa hat to them and say, job well done, especially when they were started at 7 on this run. Brian Flores held the team together. They picked up their play. Their defense materialized, Tua's game materialized, and they've rode that to a 7-7 record. Now, at New Orleans, they played one road game since October. Okay, now they go on the road for 2 out of 3. So, yeah, it's a bump up in competition and in the schedule. So, this be a much tougher run than they've had in the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 different teams that you can really look at. You can look at the team within the first 8 weeks of the season when they're playing the bulk of the year without Tua, without Raekwon Davis, important run stopper. Their top 2 cornerbacks were playing with growing injuries. We can make the offensive line was playing like trash. It's gotten better, but still hasn't gotten good. And then you look at the second half of the season, weeks 9 through 15, and that's upcoming here. But the Dolphins have drastically improved in a ton of statistical areas. Red zone offense, they're number 3 in the NFL since week 9. You're talking about fourth quarter passing rating. They're number 6 in the NFL. Defensively, number 1 in sacks, number 2 in red zone defense. Opponent passer rating, number 2. Total defense, number 2. They are a completely different team in the second half of the season than they've been for the first half of the season. Now, the question is, can they remain consistent? And I personally believe that they can. I think that they not only can remain consistent, but they can take it up a notch if the offensive line improves, if Tua develops better chemistry with his weaponry, and if they get a running game, establish a running game, find a consistent running game. They're running the ball 30 times per game. During the 6-game winning streak, they got to remain consistent and get a lot more out of it.
Look, they were last year 10 wins. That was a overachievement. Everybody agreed. But by the time you got down to it, they had 1 win against a winning team. Okay, 1 of the 10. This year, they're 2-4 against winning teams. They're 5-3 against teams 500 and below. So, look, it's an achievement. You got to win the games you're expected to win, first of all. But now they're going to be asked to step up and play better than they have. That's just the bottom line when you look at how the opponents are.
Yeah, our first question comes from Jeremy. What does it tell you that the Dolphins won, even with Tua at his worst? And I don't think that's Tua's worst. Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was his worst. He made a couple bad throws. The pick 6, most obviously. Okay. I mean, it tells you their defense played very well in the second half. It tells you they had a running game for the first time all year. They first 100-yard rusher. And it also tells you the Jets are an awful team. The Jets are 31st against the run. They're 3-11 now or 12. Is it 3-11 now for a reason? I mean, you're not going to be able to beat a good contending team playing like that. Okay, but that's part of the schedule. Sometimes you're not at your best, and you still come out with a win, and that's
there.
Important.
You go with the schedule disrespect again. You play who's on your schedule, Dave. Even the 10-win season, you're disrespecting it, saying they beat 1 winning team.
I'm giving facts, Omar. That's called
listen. The Rams were a winning team. The Patriots were a winning team. They won.
Yeah, they're 2-4. They're 2-4 against winning teams this year.
Listen,
I mean that's all I'm saying. You use that information however you want.
The Lions just beat the best team in the NFL, the Arizona
Cardinals. So the Lions are better than the best team in the NFL. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is every given Sunday, you never know what can happen. And hell, right now in this month of the season, the way COVID's operating, you might be facing 40% of a team by the time the game rolls around. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs, now down their top wide receiver, their top tight end. Next, you never know if the quarterback's going to be out. Look at the Cleveland Browns. No, was it the Cleveland Browns? Who last night was playing with a quarterback they signed last week?
The Browns did on Monday night. So
yeah, somebody played with a quarterback they signed last week. It's you never know what to expect, but that's why they played the games, Dave. But to answer the question, I have said and continue to say Tua's efficiency level just is off the charts. It's not pretty. It's not sexy. His win rate. I mean, if you look at the opponents that the margin of victory that he's had, like the bulk of his wins are by 8 points or more. That's for bettors, Tua's a good bet. So if Tua's a good bet, betting on Tua is a good bet. You got to think he's going to help you win games. And I know the defense has played lights out, but Tua's ability to keep them rested and keep them off the field and, not play into bad game plays, I think that's important. And obviously, as I said, the run game is important. The defense is clearly what leads this team, but let's not undermine Tua's efficiency and let's not understate the importance of the run game.
You aren't understating Tua's efficiency, Omar. They've won 2 ways. Two things that have been consistent throughout this. Tua's efficiency, yes. and really with the defense. I mean, that's it. Okay. If the game takes them any other way, they're in trouble, right? If
I've seen them come from behind. I've seen them trail. They trailed against the Jets, and they never panicked.
Panicked? Why would you panic against the Jets, Omar? I mean, let's be serious.
You can panic against any opponent, Dave.
Let's raise the level of conversation here. If they're down 2 scores in the fourth quarter, can they come back? Now, they did come back. Was it 2 scores against Atlanta with Tua having a good fourth quarter? But they haven't been asked to do that very much. And I don't think they have the team for that. That's not just Tua. As we've talked about repeatedly, that's the rest of the offense too. But they have a formula for winning. And the question is if they need to tweak that formula in a game, can they?
That's a very good point. I don't know. I'm still waiting for a defensive coordinator to create a recipe to take the as you call it, the tic-tac-toe offense away from Tua.
All right, Fan asks, Omar, is the success the Dolphins had running the ball due to better offensive line play, Duke Johnson, or the Jets being a bad team?
I think it's a combination of all three. Let's start with Duke Johnson, who, if you've watched this show or you followed me throughout my career, I'm a big Duke Johnson fan. I think he's got some of the better vision for finding running lanes that we've seen since Frank Gore. Why he has not had an opportunity to be more of a runner. He's been typecasted. I've been saying typecasted. It's typecasted in the NFL as a pass catching back because he's got good hands and he can pass protect. But I think his running is underrated. So I'm going to give Duke a lot of credit for the success. Now, is the offensive line improving? Yes, they're improving. Getting back Michael Dieter definitely helps. You're seeing the left side of the offensive line play a little bit better. Jesse Davis is getting back to being reliable and consistent. But also the Jets are bad. I'm not going to understate that. The Dolphins' 2 best rushing efforts have been against the Jets. It's not a coincidence. And Miami also used an overloaded line, which unbalanced line, which I've been wondering and pounding the table for them to use for 4 straight weeks. It doesn't make any sense that you basically have an extra tight end on the field that you're not really throwing to when you could just put an extra offensive lineman on the field. Hey,
when they brought out Robert Jones, I think you passed out while you were applauding, I think, right?
I think that they're actually misusing it because if I were Miami, Robert Jones would be playing right guard and Robert Hunt, the athletic freak of nature south of Christian Wilkins, would be serving as my tight end, and I'd have him out there running routes.
Yeah, so, I mean, they go from the 31st ranked rushing defense, okay? And this is they go on the road now, much more difficult for offensive lines, assuming we're going to have crowds still. I'm going to bet that. And the Jets are, I think, the 6th ranked defense against the rush. So this is a big step up for them. Just like now, they scored a lot of points, not necessarily running the ball, but the offense did against Carolina, a good defense. But, you can get away with things against the Jets. You're not going to be able to get away with the Saints.
That's you every week. Oh, you can get away with things against Carolina, which had a great defense. You can get away with things against, the Jets, the Baltimore, Houston. It's always everybody. You just ignore.
Do you believe they're going to run for 100 yards against the Saints? Do you think that Duke Johnson will run for 100 yards against the Saints?
I am a believer, so I'm going to say yes. I do not.
Wow.
Duke is going to run for 100 yards, but I think that they're going to have a good, decent. I think the commitment is there. It's clear the commitment is there, and I think if they can get to an efficient level to the point where the offensive line, they know where their tandem blocks need to be. They know where their weak points and point of attacks. And Duke has the vision, and Philip Lindsay has the ability to hit those outside runs. And I think that the outside zone is the recipe for success with this team. Now, I'm just not a big believer in Myles Gaskin and Ahmed Saman Ahmed. in terms of them being what this team needs. I think they're both NFL players, but in terms of what this team needs, I think you got to hand that backfield to the two new backs.
Yeah, I mean, Duke Johnson showed he can run inside, which they really haven't had enough inside with a little muscle behind it. And that was important. You saw a couple times he moved the pile or he broke a tackle and fell forward. Falling back or just sideways. So, okay, Omar Lloyd wants to know, assuming they can all come off IR and off the COVID reserve list, whom should our 3-4 active running backs be going forward this season?
Before we address this, I want to point out that Javon Holland is not practicing today, even though he's off the COVID list. He's still having COVID symptoms. There is still an outbreak in South Florida that's happening everywhere. It's still going through their building. The team is under, not quarantine. They're meeting basically just to practice as a group, and then they're doing individual weightlifting sessions. They're meeting as a team in Zoom. They're socially distancing when they're meeting in their position rooms. So you never know what's going to happen before Monday night. Obviously, everybody's going to test before they get on a flight. But, you know, as in terms of, they did get Myles Gaskin, Ahmed back. They did get Philip Lindsay back. So to answer the question, I'm a big believer in Duke. I want to see Philip Lindsay, a healthy Philip Lindsay. He's been battling an ankle injury 3 weeks ago. He should be healthy by now. And then Myles Gaskin. Those are my three backs. Malcolm Brown is trying to come back from IR. I think he's an important piece, but you get to test him out for another week. I keep him on IR because I can't really create the roster spot. Ahmed is just the odd man out, unless I need some speed guy. And I think he's a talented guy who's in the Alvin Kamara role, but unless I need that player offensively as a pass-catching weapon, he's the odd man out in my backfield.
Yeah, I don't think that's a difficult decision. I mean, Duke Johnson for what he did last week, Philip Lindsay, you want to see if you can get to the Philip Lindsay of the 3 years in Denver and not the 1 year in Houston. And if you can get that, you got a fine player. And Gaskins showed that in the right role, he can be a good player.
What I love about Lindsay and Duke Johnson is, and people have been blowing up my mentions about Charles Harris and the success he's having in Detroit, and clap it up for Charles Harris, who's 7.5 sacks. He's having a sensational year, the year that we hoped he would have had maybe 3-4 seasons ago. And guy had tons of opportunities with the Dolphins, never panned out. But what I like about him is there's a certain level of efficiency you're going to get from a player when they've got 1 foot out the door in the NFL. Duke was unemployed for the first half of the season. Philip Lindsay got released. He got cut, waived, put on waivers. That's a former Pro Bowler. It's a humbling experience. And I like when backs have that hunger. I like when all NFL players have that hunger. They know that, hey, if I don't produce or I don't grind, I could potentially be out the league and have to start a new career. So they're playing with a different hunger level, and which is why I give the edge to Duke and Philip.
Yeah, the question is always in those situations, do they have anything left? Or, do they just need a bump? Like with Charles Harris, I don't think motivation was his problem.
No.
You talk to Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor he wanted to work with Jason Taylor. They worked together. He worked hard, and you talk so it wasn't a hunger or anything else. He was almost depressed because he wanted to be so good, and so good for him. I don't fault the Dolphins for I get it. Yeah, I mean, he got so many chances here. Right through Brian Flores coming through, and that first summer, hey, we believe in Charles, trying to give him one more run.
Gifted him a starting spot. It just didn't pan out in the scheme that he played in college. Like, it just didn't pan out. But sometimes a guy needs a fresh start, and that was Charles Harris. Again, even Jakeem Grant, Pro Bowler Jakeem Grant. Congratulations to him. Guy got a fresh start. He's doing great as a punt returner. Now, wide receiver, different subject. Let's get to our next segment. Numbers are important for those who are in the analytics crowd. I personally am not an analytics person because I think numbers lie to you. However, allow me present two sets of numbers to you, Dave Hyde, that I think you'll find quite surprising. Let's begin with completion percentage. Headed into this week's game, Tua is completing 69.9% of his passes. And that's a downward swing because he's generally been a 70% passer. And do you know what, Dave? He now leads the NFL in completion percentage. It's 1 week, but Tua is king right now when it comes to accuracy. Now, let's get to another statistic, and this one is the fun one for me. I was doing a statistical study, even though I don't like numbers, I do still look at them and study them. And lo and behold, I discovered Tua, with his disappointing 7.1 yards per attempt average. Fans, they want that big yardage per completion per game. It's not a gaudy number, but Tua's ranked 17th in the NFL. Do you know who he's right behind, Dave? Tom?
I do, because I read the script, Omar.
He is right behind Tom Brady at 7.2 yards per attempt, and he shares big arm Josh Rosen's yards per attempt average of 7.1. So how does little arm Tua and big arm Josh Rosen share the exact same completion percentage? The exact same.
Not Josh Rosen, Josh Allen.
Oh, yeah. Josh Allen. Sorry, that's a brain fart. Now, Josh, I messed up my own script. How does Tua and big arm Josh Allen, the guy who arguably, with Justin Herbert, has the biggest arm in the NFL, how do they have the exact same yards per attempt average, Dave?
Well, that's a tough one because now I will say I have heard more about completion percentage in the past 2 months than I've heard in the first 20 years of my career. Okay, I'm not saying we all know it goes into the formula of what's important. Is it the most important? So all of a sudden you think, my God, completion percentage is bigger than wins because it's so. Look,
hey, he's delivering those two.
I look, Tua's, as I've written, I think he's playing about as well as he can with the talent around him. But you're going to have to see more, and you're not going to, here will be a chance to show something a little more on the road. Can he maintain that level of play? Can he just maintain the past 6-7 games, and keep the offense going? The Josh Allen thing, Buffalo's offense is broken. Okay. The offense is broken. It's all Josh Allen. It's only Josh Allen. And so, I think a lot of their stats when they get to the end of the year aren't going to be what they want them to be and what they should be if they were running the offense that they want. They don't have any running game. They don't even try to have a running game. That's what I like about the Dolphins. They don't have a running game, but they realize you at least have to put up the facade of a running game. You got to stay with it, or otherwise it's going to be the whole offense is going to crash and burn. And so they're trying to do that, and that's respectful of what they're doing. And then, Buffalo's offense is showing you what happens when you don't run.
Yeah, the Buffalo's doing a lot of screen passes and short check down passes, and that is their offense. It's, big play from Allen or check down or screen pass. But I just found that interesting. To me, the key stats for Tua are wins, yards per attempt, and completion percentage. If he leads the league in completion percentages, that's a major victory on his part, because the way that I look at it, especially in the RPO offense, a lot of the stuff that he does, it can't be stopped. And the slant that he threw to Devontae Parker, unless you're playing him, Devontae, in press coverage, the touchdown pass. I mean, literally, Tua took 3 steps, the ball was out. These are timing things. And a defender can't cover it unless he's jamming him at the line of scrimmage, which is hard to do in the end zone, goal line situation, or it's a PI play. So, as long as Tua can continue to throw those passes accurately, it's going to be hard to stop.
All right, since we're on this subject, Omar, last week you said you would be happy if Tua has a 96, 95, whatever. Right now he's at 94.3, okay? And for his career, you said if he stayed that way,
Take it.
That ranks 15th, 16th. Now he's at you're happy with the 15th ranked quarterback. That's my point with the whole Tua conversation here. You need more, not necessarily this year, but he's got to get. You got to get more out of him when he gets more talent around him, and you're not going to be able to see it now.
What I said is, if you said take it or leave it, and I'll give you a 10-year career at a 95% tilt.
That's not good enough. That's not what this whole rebuild was for, to get an elite quarterback. Now, they could have got a 15th ranked quarterback. A lot of teams can. Okay?
I think that.
And let me say that. I'm not saying he's there. I'm saying that's where he is right now.
Yes, that's where he is right now.
For a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons, okay?
Yeah, but so is Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson's in the 20s.
Okay, but both those players have heft behind them. They have a portfolio. Yeah. Mahomes is a Super Bowl winner. Jackson as a MVP of the league. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm looking for is consistency, efficiency, winning play. Tell me the situation that Tua's had this year where his team needed him to drive the team down the length of the field and score points, and he didn't do it. Has it happened?
Well, Omar, that gets to my point. There haven't been a lot of times where he's had to drive down the field and score. Where they have this formula working, and it's a good formula, okay? Yeah. Where the defense gets the lead, the offense gets the lead.
They don't always have the lead. Jacksonville, he got them the lead. Falcons, he got them the lead. Defense didn't hold it. He has delivered this season in every possible situation. He didn't play the Buffalo game, the first Buffalo game. And then he lost to Buffalo. Can't really remember the circumstances. His play wasn't great, but I wouldn't say he was the problem.
No, it was. Remember Jakeem Grant? They were down 14-0, and Jakeem Grant dropped that. They were at like the 11-yard line.
No, I'm talking about the second one. Yeah.
So am I. And
those Buffalo beatdowns, they sort of blended together for me.
So, my point is, you won't be happy with a 95 quarterback rating for the career. You just won't. That's not what you want.
Listen, if he's Derek Carr for the length and duration of his career, I'm gonna be okay with it. It's not championship caliber, but he's not the problem.
That's not what you sacrificed 3 seasons for.
I sacrificed 3 seasons because I was a dummy. Listen, at this point, think about who he is. Let's say we replace Ryan Tannehill with this team. Do you think that they're playing at this level and have this level of efficiency with Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback behind this offensive line with these weapons? And I have respect for Ryan Tannehill and what he's able to do and accomplish. And he's got the Tennessee Titans without any weapons, without Derrick Henry, with a better record than Miami. And Miami will see them soon. But I would argue to you, you swap teams.
Yeah, the to pick that up, the 2016 Dolphins with Ryan Tannehill, really the only time we saw him A, healthy, B, have a running game, and have a complete team. He was this guy. He was efficient. He was. Now,
this offensive line, he'd be sacked 60 times.
He wasn't in 2016 when he took them to the playoffs.
Oh, that was a different offensive line now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they had I see what you're saying with this offensive line.
Offensive line, he'd be sacked 60. I watched Tennessee play their last game just out of curiosity. And, oh, my God, is his pocket presence still horrible behind a good offensive line. He cannot feel pressure. He would be dead man walking with this offensive line.
Cannot let it go. He just can't let it go. Okay, LOL squared has a question. Now that Tua has the highest completion percentage in the NFL, does he finish the season that way? What will his critics point out if he ends with just one?
I think if he ends out maybe just one, if he ends up number one, they're going to point to yards per attempt, the tic-tac-toe offense, as you call it, and I'm okay with it. I'm fine.
I'm a critic, and I'm just applying critical thinking. Because as I've said, I think he's playing at about as high a level as he can right now with this. I'm saying there's got to be more going forward, okay? That's what I'm saying. There's got to be more.
I'm not arguing with you that there has to be more, but it would be nice if his offensive line gave him more. It'd be nice if his running game gave him more. It'd be nice if he had one more receiver step up. Devontae's here. Congratulations. Jalen's coming back. Mike Gesicki is okay from time to time, but it'd be nice to have one more weapon, just one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, Yuri asks, 23 players are scheduled to be free agents at the end of the season. Is it time to start extending some of them? If so, who?
Well, let me just explain the nature of free agency and players at the end of their contracts. Unless they're battling an injury right now, and they're scared that something's going to happen like a knee, or they're going to get the Goodwin treatment where, he was playing on the franchise tag and suffered an injury in Tampa Bay and is now an unrestricted free agent with an ACL tear. Ooh, that's a bad spot to be in. But if you're Emmanuel Ogbah, if you're Mike Gesicki, you made it this far without getting a new deal, you're taking it to the market.
Right.
You got 3 more games to play. You're probably playing to not get hurt because you know that once I get to the market is going to carry me to greatness. Emmanuel Ogbah's probably looking at $15 million a year right now. Mike Gesicki, he's probably sitting on a franchise tag. This is just the bare minimum. You're trying to take it to the market. Now, if you're the Durham Smites, if you're the Nick Needham, and Nick Needham is one of the guys, I think if I'm Miami, I make him a decent offer to try to avoid putting the because he's a restricted free agent. I think Nick Needham is one of the top players on this team. And if he hits the market as a restricted free agent and the Dolphins give him an original round tender, which means you get nothing, I'm signing him. Now, if the Dolphins give him a second round tender, then I'll probably back off. But I think Nick Needham is a starter in the NFL. If I were Miami, I'd try to sign him. But everybody else, Durham Smythe, make him an offer, but you don't got to beat. You already have his replacement here in Hunter Long, who's playing more. But if I'm Emmanuel Ogbah and Mike Gesicki, which really is the genesis of who you got to worry about, I'm hitting the market.
Yeah, I think by now, unless the Dolphins would give them what they think would be the market value, they're not going to. And if the Dolphins were going to do that, they would have done it week 8 or something like that. So by the way,
they do it. They actually do it in December. Let me tell you a story. And this was a story that I found to be probably the most disrespectful story of a player, of how this team treated a player. It involved Jarvis Landry, who at that point in December was playing with a fracture in his back. He wasn't practicing all week, but he played in the game with a fracture in his back. Final year of his contract, he was paid like, I believe it was the 116th highest paid wide receiver as a 3-time Pro Bowler. The organization had not made him a single contract offer from training camp up until December. Jarvis went up to the front office with a fractured back he's playing with and begged them for an offer. Begged Mike Tannenbaum for an offer. And the Dolphins refused to make it. Then they come around in the offseason and slap him with the franchise tag and say, we're going to try to trade you. That, to me, sent such a horrible message about what this organization was about. And it just sent a ripple effect throughout the team that this organization isn't going to take care of you. Now, they took care of others, but it makes you wonder, why didn't they take care of Jarvis, even though he got market value on the market?
He got $15 million from Cleveland, if I remember right. And the question with this regime, we haven't really seen them invest in their own. They haven't been asked to yet. So
yeah.
We'll have to see what.
No, not really. Jerome Baker, they invested in their own.
Oh, good, true. Eric Rowe, they invested.
Yeah,
they gave him
that decision is going to be an interesting one this offseason.
Yeah. So, but whose model are they going to follow? Are they going to follow the Belichick model where you pick and choose? You're very
selective,
very happy to let some people go, and we're going to have to see where that goes. So, okay. Craig wants to know, Omar, has Miami's defensive line quietly become the best unit on the team?
I would like to answer that by giving great props and praise to what the Dolphins defensive line has done. They set the table for everybody else. Christian Wilkins has been a very pleasant surprise. His game has developed, has come up. He's blossomed. He's playing like a first-round pick now. Ogba is having a very impressive season. I believe he's like second in pass deflections. He's got, 8.5 sacks right now. Zach Sealer is by far efficiency level one of the top players in the NFL. Raekwon Davis is gobbling up the run. Props and praise to them for what they've done and what they've accomplished. However, the strength of this team is the secondary. You're allowed to do what you do defensively in your front end and with the blitzing safeties off the back of Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, and your safeties, Brandon Jones and Javon Holland and Eric Rowe. They're your primary playmakers. So I got to give the praise to the secondary. Again, for the second year, they're the team's top unit.
And again, this gets to philosophically how they've been built. And the question is, will they be built this way as these defensive linemen, move into their contract years? And we all know Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, two highest cornerbacks at the time in the league, okay? And so Bill Belichick does this. He pays the back end of the defense. I'm curious to see, will some of that money be going to the front line as they age?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Emmanuel Ogba's a tough decision right now. I mean, you can't franchise tag a defensive lineman because that's like $20 million. So you gotta get something done. But then again, he's a good player. Is he a great player? Is he a finishing piece for a contending team? It'll be very interesting to see how they handle this, what they do.
And what are your options? If you don't, Jalen Phillips is coming on.
Yeah.
Pressure, obviously.
But then you got to go find another Jalen Phillips if you let Emmanuel walk. And I don't know what the right answer is. You can go the old veteran route and sign a Melvin Ingram. I don't know how they've got a ridiculous amount of money in cap space, but the question is how will they use that? And I can honestly tell you, I have no idea. And there's going to be a lot of players with their hand out this offseason saying, pay me, including Xavier Howard.
Again. Okay, the stakes are high headed into the final 3 games of the Dolphins season. Miami's already in a win and you advance situation when it comes to the AFC wild card. Make one mistake, suffer one loss, and it'll likely cost the Dolphins their playoff chances. They have a national audience for Monday night's game against the Saints. It's a road contest, and the Dolphins are 2-4 on the road this season. Omar, do you believe the lights get brighter for these Monday night games, and how much does this contest on the road concern you?
It does concern me because if you've been to the Superdome, I don't know if they still call that the Superdome. It's like the Mercedes-Benz. I don't know. All these name changes.
Can't keep up with them.
You can't keep up with them. It's one of the loudest venues in the NFL. And the last time the Dolphins were in a loud, hostile venue, I'm not counting the Jets because it wasn't that loud, they really played a mistake-filled, error-filled game where they had communication errors and tons of breakdowns and offensive lines with penalty in Buffalo. This is going to be an even more hostile environment. The Saints, they don't play, and neither does their fan base. It is a loud, hostile environment, and I'm not sure that the Dolphins are ready to be on that stage. Now, they've shown they can play well on a national stage. They smacked around the Baltimore Ravens on a national stage, and that was quite impressive. But is this young team, and I still count them and view them as a young team, are they ready to have the nation watching? And, Albert Wilson talked about it this week. He's like, yeah, you get up for these Monday night games because, all your peers are watching. Everybody's watching. You got the spotlight, and you don't want to embarrass yourself.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about that. All these guys at this point in their careers have played on big stages at different places. So it's more playing on the road against – I don't know who the Saints are either. I mean, they lost Jameis Winston. Now Taysom Hill's in there, and they shut out Tampa Bay on Sunday, 9-0. Tom Brady's the only third time he's been shut out in his career. Is that who they are? 2 weeks ago, before that, they gave up 27 points to Dallas, which that's probably an average outing for Dallas. And sandwiched in that, they crushed the Jets.
Who doesn't?
They've had 2. They crushed the Jets, beat Tampa Bay, in a defensive game in the past 2 weeks. So maybe they're finding their footing, or maybe those are the 2, best weeks they're going to have in this season. I don't know who the Saints are either.
William asks, the Saints held Tom Brady to 0 points. How are we going to be able to score against that defense? And
you're not going to be able to if they play like that again. I mean, okay. The question is, can they play like that again? They are not in the top 10 for scoring defenses. As I said before, they have a good rushing defense. But I'm trying to
They had a ton of turnovers against Tampa Bay, which is
right. Exactly.
You got to protect the football. I mean, you got to play Brian Flores ball, which is don't beat yourself with penalties, protect the football, be balanced, be opportunistic on defense, get stingy in the red zone. That's got to be your style of play. I mean, but yeah, you have to be impressed about what the Saints did against Tom Brady. The question is, were they on a high for that game, and will they be overlooking the Dolphins in this game?
Yeah, I was wrong. I thought the Saints ranked 6th in points given up this year. Okay, they give up an average of 20 points a game. So, but yeah, as we've said, the Dolphins know their formula to win. Okay, and they can't stray from that very much. They, last week being the exception, they don't have a running game, so they can't say, let's go out and pound the ball. Uh, they win on defense and Tua being efficient. There it is. That's it. And if you come back and you're off a little from any of those, you're going to be in trouble.
Take it to a fourth quarter game. Play your game. Take it to a fourth quarter game and see what happens. Tua versus Taysom Hill. Okay.
I like the chances. This gets into our next question. Will the Dolphins stack the box and make Taysom Hill complete 55% of his passes with 2 TDs and 5 interceptions? What do you think?
It's funny because we get into this whole Chris Sims debate about, which quarterback would you rather have, the athletic freak with the decent arm or, the efficient game manager. You know where I stand. I take the efficient game manager. I don't like athletic quarterbacks and scramblers. I'm taking Tua. And to me, this will be a game that's about the secondary and about these exotic amoeba defensive packages. You need Javon Holland back. You absolutely need Javon Holland back. I hope he's taking his zinc and his vitamin C and echinacea and everything else that you need to get healthy to not infect your teammates, because he's really the focal point of this defense, or has become the focal point of the defense. And he is the magic piece that's going to help you confuse Taysom Hill. Now, also, you got to contain the scrambling. But as we saw, if you can contain Lamar Jackson, you can contain Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill, he's a runner. He's not really a scrambler. He's an out and out. I'm just going to run the ball. Okay, I'm a running back. I mean, he's sort of a Tim Tebow who throws a little better. Okay, I mean, a rich man's Tim Tebow. Okay, what Tim Tebow hoped to be is Taysom Hill. So he doesn't scare you, but you got to respect that he can run 60, 70 yards a game in addition to whatever they put up passing. They're again, with Jameis Winston, they could have been they were at times an explosive offense. I'm not really scared of Taysom Hill's offense.
Yeah, it's I'm looking up his stats right now, and while he does have a 5-2 record as an NFL starter, 64, he is completing 64% of his passes during his career, but 6 touchdowns through the air, 8 interceptions. He's got an 80.3 quarterback rating. I'm sure you wouldn't take that, Dave. It's okay. It's nothing that's gonna.
How much does he run? How much does he?
Yeah. The rushing numbers are, he's run for 1,100 yards during his, and 16 touchdowns during his career. It's okay. It's 5.5 yards per carry. I'm curious. He's played 7 games. He's got 52 attempts. So that means he scrambles about, my math is off, but maybe 8 times a game. Play the edges like they do.
He's a backup quarterback. Look, the Saints had every chance to name him the starter in the offseason, and they didn't want him. They didn't, and so you're facing a backup quarterback with a little odd talent because of his running skills, but certainly not because of his passing skills.
Yeah, he's a gadget player. I'm not a big fan of gadget players. He doesn't really scare me. I think you could really come with the same Lamar Jackson package. And when you're making him guess defensively, what's he gonna do? He's not reading the field, so he's just gonna run.
See, to me, the game's gonna be decided on the other half. Can the Dolphins score enough points? Can they? Because the Saints defense has kept 2 offenses under 1 shutout, a very good offense, and the Jets to 9 points. Not a good offense, but still 9 points is impressive. So can the Dolphins score enough points on the Saints defense?
Chris Anderson, he's got our final question, which is prior to this 6-game winning streak, doomsday was here, but the wins have solved everything. What issues are you most concerned with that these wins have masked, Dave?
Well, I don't think they masked anything. I think it's very obvious where they need to improve. And you wrote a column about it today's paper, I believe, online yesterday about, the offense. Again, how many guys can you say right now they'll be back next year on offense in the same roles? Two? Well, I mean, that's counting Tua.
Three? Yeah.
If you count Tua, three. And so that tells you where they are offensively. The defense, we said of course, at the end of last season, the defense looked like they went out and make a million changes. Okay, so, but
hey, but Brian Flores is showing you those million changes. They've worked. They've taken a minute, but they've worked.
They cost the season. I mean, they helped cost the season. You can't go 1-7 to start a season.
I have this sick, strange feeling that they're going to go out and they're going to make a million changes again. And you know why? Because it's the Patriots way. It's
not. It's not.
Oh, it is. It is.
Okay, let's look at the coaching staff. They bring it up from within. They developed all their young coaches. They don't go out and hire coaches.
No. I'm not talking about coaching staff. I'm talking about personnel and change. Yeah. And this is one of the things. I went back and I watched Brian Flores' introductory press conferences at press conference. And I generally do that at a certain point when I feel like I have a good sense for who the coach is. It's something I've always done. And what I found very impressive about that is exactly who he said this team would be is exactly who they are. Exactly what he said this team would go through is exactly what they've gone through. And I sat there and I thought to myself, and I'm not the biggest Brian Flores fan. I don't hide that. But he's probably the most competent coach that I personally covered. I never covered Nick Saban. I did cover Jimmy Johnson, so let me not take that. I covered Jimmy as an intern. I didn't cover Dave Wanstead. But that defensively, he's going to figure it out. He's going to have it. He's got it. Yeah, it's not always perfect, but you're going to have a top 10-ish, top 12-ish defense one way or the other. I've said this on X's Omar. I go into games excited to see what the defensive game plan is, with what they've got and what they're facing, what's their thought process. It is always the most exciting part of my Sundays. And it doesn't always work, but I enjoy the thought process, and you can see that the wheels are churning. Like, to see what they do against Taysom Hill on Monday night, I cannot wait. Because it's not going to be the exact same thing that they did against Lamar Jackson, because they know that the Saints will expect the same thing they did against Lamar Jackson. It's going to be something different, and the chess pieces are going to be moved, and the Saints are going to have to spend a series or two trying to figure it out. Or if the Saints are having success, like the Jets were having last week, you're going to see things move, things shift, and they're going to figure it out, and they're going to lock it down. I love that. Now, the offense, good God, have they been tragically bad? 3 years of crappy offensive line play, 3 years of no running game, 3 years of you saying who your identity of who your team is going to be, being completely opposite of what you want your identity to be on offense, and 3 years of unstable, inconsistent coaching staffs on the offensive side of the ball. And you say to yourself, like, good God, you need some help. Like, you have to realize you need some help. And while you got it last year and it led to success and results, you kind of ran him off and you couldn't keep him. Now, you got to learn from your mistakes and do something differently so that maybe you can have some stability on offense, because as we know, you'll probably be fired because you'll never figure out the offense. That's just the Dolphins' way.
Well, I think Brian Flores has shown his teams always get better. He's a good coach. He's a good teacher. But he does have to learn, and after 3 seasons, I hope you learn, You need some stability on the offense. You need stability of a system. You need stability of, coaches who can develop talent. Now, whether it's talent or drafting, we can go round and like a dog chasing his tail on this one. But that's, again, back to the question. I don't think the wins have really masked anything. I think we see how they're winning. Limited offense, asking the quarterback to not lose the game. Okay, make just enough plays, and the offense just be efficient enough. But you're really riding the defense a lot. And so
I think the Patriots tried the defense. Nobody brings that up. The Patriots played the exact same game.
I guess they're not asking the offense to do too much. Okay.
Patriots played the exact same way.
Why are you getting defensive about this?
I'm just saying.
Defensive.
I'm just saying.
When I say they're asking the offense to play a limited offense, which is what it is, the Patriots say the same way. The Patriots have a big running game. They can do things the Dolphins can't do. Okay. And so, and that's what I'm saying. The Dolphins don't have, unless the light switch turned on last week against the Jets. I don't think they have a running game. Okay. And so, again, I don't think they're masking anything. The issues are out there.
What I find interesting, and I'm paying very close attention to the national media talk, and I'll be paying attention to it through Monday Night Football. The Dolphins and the Patriots, they pretty much have the exact same team, except the Patriots have a running game. And that's important. But they play the exact same way. But you don't hear anybody saying, oh, Mac Jones, all he does is he plays in a tic-tac-toe offense, and he's got to be able to throw the ball downfield.
Let me ask something, Omar. If he's in his end of his second year, all the time, what will you think the conversation will change? And
no, because they're winning, and it's the Patriots, and they just get the benefit of the doubt.
You're gonna be the national media's after us. You're going to be that type of. I love this. The national media doesn't. There's a reason when the national media talks about Tua, when the Dolphins are talking about Tua, because there's nothing else to talk about them. They haven't been relevant in so long. There's nothing and no one for them to talk about, except now this 6-game winning streak, and they're getting some.
Yeah, but no. Nobody's giving them any clap it up and praise.
Well, I don't watch the TV a lot, but in the national writers they are.
Yeah, the Dolphins are arguably one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, and I'm not saying that because I believe in them or think that they're sensational. Like, you just look at the turnaround, the 2 different seasons, and right now they could play with anybody, and nobody cares. Not that they should.
We're going to find out if they can play with anybody in the next 3 weeks. If they come out of this and sweep, they can play with anybody. I'd agree with that. Okay, let's get through this. We're making all these statements about people. Now we can just sit here right at the end, put our feet up, and see what happens.
Let's do this, and let's do the predictions, Dave. I'm going to start it out because I think it's going to surprise people, but I'm going to say that I now believe in the second half Dolphins. The first half, I got to the point where, you couldn't pick them. You couldn't pick them to save your life. It wasn't happening, but I think that this is going to be a defensive performance. I think that some of these top defensive players, Javon Holland, now my prediction might change if Javon Holland doesn't play, but I think that you're going to see the Xavier Howard on the national stage show out, the Javon Hollands, the Jalen Phillips, the Emmanuel Ogbahs. I think they're going to use this as a statement game, and I think the Dolphins are going to walk away with a 21-17 victory over the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to be the optimist. At the start of the year, I picked 10 wins for this Dolphins. I'm not ready to back off on this game. Okay, but I'm going a little lower. I don't think it'll be that much score. 16-14, in a game that people nationally will say, oh, that really wasn't that exciting. But if you're the Dolphin fan, you're saying that was exciting, 7 in a row. So I'm going to ride them this game too.
All right. Well, thank you for watching X's and Omar. It's brought to you by the Sun Sentinel. We look forward to seeing you every Wednesday at noon when we don't do the show live. You can find the replays of X's and Omar on the Sun Sentinel website, or you can watch it on YouTube, especially if you're a European fan and you can't get it at the Sun Sentinel for whatever reason. I don't know. But it's also going to be on podcast.
Omar, what are those on that your hat? It looks like a Mexican sombrero with Christmas on it.
It's like Christmas balls, Dave. There's a tree for those who aren't able to see it. So I'm in a festive mood. Happy holiday to everybody out there. Looking forward to making it to the New Year's, and everybody stay safe out there. COVID is running rampant. Definitely. Look forward to seeing you guys next week, Wednesday at noon.